University of Agriculture Akoko Edo Establishment Bill 2021, first reading. Nigeria Electoral Offences Commission Bill 2021, first reading. Federal Medical Center of Anambra State Establishment Bill 2021, first reading. National Assembly Service Commission Act Amendment Bill 2021, first reading.
Thank you. Okay. The second business of the day is presentation of 6 reports of the Committee on Health Institutions standing in the now Honorable Pascal Obi. Honorable Obi is invited to present their reports.
People of Idata North, Idata South Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from the Heartland, Eastern Heartland. Mr. Speaker, I rise this morning to seek the leave of this honorable House to enable me make presentation of about 6 number of bills, the recommendations made by my committee after consideration of the bills that were referred to us for legislative action. Mr. Speaker, with your kind permission, I proceed as follows. The first one is that the House do receive the report of the Committee on Health Institutions on a bill for an act to establish the Federal Medical Center, hung in Adamawa State, and for other related matters. The second one, that the House do receive the report of the Committee of Health Institutions on a bill for an act to establish Federal Medical Center, MUBI, in Adamawa State, and for other related matters. That the House also do receive the report of the Committee of Health Institutions on a bill for an act to provide the legal framework to establish the Federal Medical Center, Mbaku, in Anambra State. Also, that the House do receive the report of the Committee of Health Institutions on a bill for an act to establish the National Agency for Sickle Cell Diseases and other heritable blood disorder prevention and treatment for the treatment, prevention, control, management, and research on sickle cell diseases and other heritable blood disorders in Nigeria, and for other related matters. Then for the House to also receive the report of the Committee on Health Institutions on a bill for an act to establish the Federal Medical Center, Biliri, in Gombe State, and for other related matters. Also, for the House to receive the report of the Committee on Health Institutions on a bill for an act to provide the legal framework to establish the Federal Medical Center, Iboho, in Oyo State, and for other related matters. Mr. Speaker, I so submit. Thank you.
Honorable Halims.
I remain Honorable Abdullah Ibrahim Halims. I'm from Kogi State, representing Ankwa Omala Olawaboro Federal Constituency. I rise to second the motion as moved by the Chairman House Committee on Health Institutions. Thank you.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. That's it. Honorable Pascal, go ahead and lay your reports. Respected colleagues, the third business of the day is presentation of report on the Committee on Ethics and Privileges on the allegations by the Independent Corrupt Practices and other related offenses Commission that 1 trillion was wasted on constituency projects standing in the Honorable Kolaole Lawal. Honorable board members will call that the matter was referred to the committee on Wednesday, 28 November 2019. The report is ready for presentation. Honorable Lawal is invited to present the report. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, my honorable colleagues. My name is Kola Wale Lawal. I am from Ogun State. I represent the fantastic and contented people of Yewa South Ipokia Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I rise to humbly move that I am allowed to move that the House do receive the report of the Committee on Ethics and Privileges on the allegation by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, that 1 trillion naira was wasted on constituency projects, HR 279/12/2019. I so rise to move to submit, Mr. Speaker. Okay. Seconder. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, distinguished colleagues. My name is Honorable Bid Uchenna Eke.
Where are you?
Mr. Speaker, I represent the good people of Abombise, Ngopala Federal Constituency. I'm from Imo State. I rise to second the motion ably moved by Chairman Ethics and Privileges. I so second. Thank you.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable Kola, go ahead and lay a report. Respected colleagues, the first order of the day is the commencement of debate on the general principle of a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of Federal University of Technology, Manchok, and for related matters standing in the name of House Leader. Honorable members will recall that the bill was transmitted for the Senate, seeking concurrence of the House and read the first time on Thursday, 3rd December 2010. And I invite the leader to move that the bill be read the second time. I will do that personally.
Motion. Bill.
I will do that. It's a promise.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker, I'm so sorry. Distinguished colleagues. Alhassan Ado Dogwa is my name. Mr. Speaker, I represent the good people of Dogwa, Tudungwada Federal Constituency. Honorable members, I'm from Kano State. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I rise to move that the bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal University of Technology, Manchok, and for related matters, HB 1135, a Senate bill, be read the second time. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I so move.
Conda Honorable Fulata. So that you complete the job well.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I am Abubakar Samfulata. I represent Berniwa Krikasama, Guri Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Jigawa State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion for a second reading of a bill for an act to provide for establishment of Federal University of Technology, Manchok, and for related matters as moved by the leader of the House. I so second, Mr. Speaker.
Lead the debate.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, honorable members. This is a straightforward bill, Mr. Speaker, honorable members. It's a bill from our sister chamber, the red chambers, the Senate. And most importantly, Mr. Speaker, a bill coming from Zaria, which is a very less educated part of this country. You can agree with me that, yes, this House has to do justice to these people. There are people who have been there for long without education. And when they ask this chamber or the National Assembly to educate them, to provide an opportunity for them like a university, to educate our good people of Zaria Emirate, extending to the region of Manchok and the southern Zaria. My distinguished colleagues, Honorable Speaker, we have no other option than to help them. This is the house of the people, the house of Nigerian people, including the Zaria people. So I would like to plead to honorable members to please concur with this bill to establish a university for these good people of our country, so that to provide them the opportunity for technical education, especially at the level of a university. I want to believe members of this chamber will agree with me that doing this is doing good to the people of our respective constituency. So just like every other bill that comes here for concurrence, I plead with you to please overlook every other factor and allow this bill to go for the second reading. Thank you.
Well, respected colleagues, like the leaders did mention, this is a very straightforward bill, except that I differ with him that Zaria is a very less educated environment. Manchok in particular, the first technology towards iron processing was developed from that very community. So I believe, time immemorial, this is a very enlightened community. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk is invited to read the long title of the bill.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to provide for establishment of Federal University of Technology, Manchok, and for related matters. Second reading.
Bill referred to committee of the whole. Respected colleagues, the second order of the day is commencement of debate on the general principle of bill for an act to amend the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria Act Cap 111, Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004, to address emerging trends in the Nigerian economic environment and for related matters, standing in the Honorable Abubakar Yunus Ahmad. Honorable members will recall that the bill was read the first time on Tuesday, 15 December 2020. I now invite Honorable Ahmad to move that the bill be read the second time. Not on the floor.
Minister is not on the floor. I move that the bill be stepped down by the leave of the House. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Step down by the leave of the House. Respected colleagues, the third order of the day is the commencement of debate on the general principle of a bill for an act to alter the second schedule of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria Act 1999 as amended to transfer drugs and poisons from the exclusive list to the concurrent list and for related matters, standing in the Honorable Abbas Tajuddin. Honorable members will recall that the bill was read the first time on Tuesday, 16 March 2021, and I invite Honorable Tajuddin to move that the bill be read the second time.
Colleagues, my name is Honorable Tajuddin Abbas. I represent the good people of Zaria Federal Constituency of Kaduna State, and I rise to move for the bill for an act to alter the second schedule to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 to transfer drugs and poisons from the exclusive legislative list to the concurrent legislative list and for related matters. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Seconder. Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Honorable Gideon Goni. I come from Kaduna State. I represent Kaura Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I rise to second the motion heavily moved by Honorable Tajuddin Abbas.
Honorable Dr. Tajuddin Abbas, lead the debate.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, my honorable colleagues. This bill is a very straightforward one. It's a bill that seeks to alter the second schedule to the 1999 Constitution by transferring item 21 of the exclusive legislative list, i.e. drugs and poisons, to the concurrent legislative list. The current arrangement, where it is only the National Assembly that can make laws on drugs and poisons, made access to drugs difficult, as it is only the federal government that can grant licenses for its manufacture, use, and related matters. This arrangement needs to be reviewed to allow for State House of Assemblies to have power to make laws on drugs and poisons. This will afford easy access to drugs, and state governments can grant licenses to manufacturers to use and dispose of the drugs in their respective jurisdictions. This bill is supported by almost all the 36 governors of this country. The APC progressive governors have met and deliberated on this, and they have given its assent to the alteration of the Constitution as far as this is concerned. So I call on all honorable members and honorable Speaker to support that this bill be allowed to be read for the second time. I so move.
Honorable Osai.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Distinguished honorable colleagues, I remain Honorable Osai Nicholas Osai. I represent Doko Okwani Federal Constituency of Delta State. Ordinarily, Mr. Speaker, I would have been swayed by the beautiful presentation of my fellow colleague. But when I looked at countries that set standards, that harmonize issues in terms of drugs, drugs are supposed to be an issue that have to be taken seriously. I watched United States of America when Dr. Kachia, what's he called? Being respected globally, not only in the United States of America, by making sure rules that guide issues of pandemic is structured from the federal up to the state. States are not allowed to take a contrary view to such issues that pertain issues of drugs and other auxiliary issues. Mr. Speaker, I believe that as is contained in the exclusive list should be allowed. Because we're talking issues of drugs. We're not talking issues of lesser issues that states House of Assembly can deal with. So I believe, Mr. Speaker, for the first time, to disagree with my friend, Honorable Abbas Tajudi, on these critical issues, that such issues of drugs should be allowed for nation, and for National Assembly to look at it at all time, And it shouldn't be part of a function that can be devolved to state, because I believe that every nation set a standard in issues of drugs, and when we begin to give it to state, there will be proliferation of most of different standards of drugs all over the country. And at that time, we have yielded to state. So, Mr. Speaker, I believe that on this ground, that these particular issues from my friend, should be dropped.
Honorable Shoba.
Olumide Oshoba, representing Abeokuta North, Obafemode, and Odera Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, this bill states clearly drugs and poison. On the drugs issue, I think it's a good bill. We should be specific with the sort of drugs. With poisons as well, I think there should be specification on the sort of poisons you want to remove from the exclusive list. I think that is the issue here. But it's a very good bill. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Chinyere.
Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, I am Chinyere Igwe, PhD. I represent Port Harcourt 2 Federal Constituency of Rivers State. Mr. Speaker, the bill in question is a very simple subject matter. Mr. Speaker, we are not talking about Panadol. Neither are we talking about Panadol Extra. We are talking about drugs and poison. Mr. Speaker, I completely told the line of Honorable Osai. Let us not trivialize these issues. Please, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My name is Buluga Ikemboju, pharmacist Buluga Ikemboju, honorable pharmacist. I represent the people of Okutukukwari Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Ondo State. Mr. Speaker, I'll rise to support the first responder to this bill. And I want to say that this amendment is unnecessary in the issue of public interest. It is very important because of the trends and what is acceptable all over the world, current practices, and the implications of loose, non-consistent drug policies all over the world, the health implications. Mr. Speaker, our drug and poison policy must be nationalistic in outlook. It has to cut across boundaries, state or otherwise. What is important is that we cannot afford a situation where legislation in one state is weak and legislation in drugs and poison in another state is strong. The implication is that we run the risk of major impact, major negative effect of drug in one state, and people peddling drugs, poison, and all hazardous chemical substances run to a state, and we run the risk of wreaking havoc on health of individuals and citizens of that state. I strongly support my honorable colleague that we should leave this matter of drug and poisons. Even from the context, we know how dangerous these substances are. The legislation must be national. It must cut across state boundaries. I so opine, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Kola Lawal. I represent the South Ipokia Federal Constituency. I'm from Ogun State. Mr. Speaker, I want to support the sponsor of this bill that the drugs and poisons should be transferred from exclusive list to concurrent list. We all understand what it means for anything to be on either concurrent or legislative list or exclusive list. It means we are trying to decentralize the administration of drugs and poisons. That's what it means when doing this. It does not mean the federal government, federal is no longer going to have control of drug administration in Nigeria. It means the state will also have the opportunity of administering the drug and poisons. We know today that the issue of drugs is cut across Nigeria. Everywhere you see small boys, juveniles taking drugs. As we have today, are we able to control them? No. What we can do is that if we decentralize by moving it from exclusive to concurrent, it means the federal government will be able to do it, and the state will also administer drug and poison. So I want to support the substance of this bill that we should move it from concurrent list, from exclusive list to concurrent list. Mr. Speaker, I should submit. Thank you.
Omonta.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Uzoma Nkim Abonta. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Abia State. Mr. Speaker, I want to firmly and strongly support this bill as being necessary, having listened to the author of the bill and those who spoke against the bill. I'll support it on the following facts, and I herefter state them. Mr. Speaker, the exclusive list, we keep saying, is overloaded. The exclusive list is so much that it is weighing the federal government down. Mr. Speaker, what this thing is saying is return or get the transferred drugs and poisons from exclusive list to concurrent, meaning that both parties can handle it. It will give us a better control of drugs. The name of heading is deceptive. Drugs, poison. Poison does not mean something that kills instantly. Currently, we sell poisons in the market, but you sign a note before you buy poison. We go to pharmacy, we buy poison. They have a poison register. Right now, we must make Nigeria move by decongesting this place. NAFDAC is not in my village. They sell poison and drugs there. NAFDAC do not have state offices. They don't have the capacity. And what this law is saying, make it in a way that states can also partake in drug and poison administration. Are we saying states are stupid? Are we saying that states are idiots? They'll go and get poison to themselves? They are also bothered, but they cannot act. They can't begin to arrest. They can't begin to discipline because it's considered a federal concern. It's a federal crime. What is it that we are obtaining in other climes? Why can't we have it in Nigeria? Mr. Speaker, he is not saying that, I don't know how many of us have read the bill in line of it. He is saying for easy administration and greater control. If anybody could clamor for state police, it's the same applicable principles. So drug is a menace hitting us hard. Illegal substance is hitting us hard. We must give the states the opportunity to also control, to also regulate, to also forestall, to also stop it. Let us not be sentimental about it. I may ask, what is the practice in UK? What is the practice in United States? Mr. Speaker, the drug law in Michigan is not in Chicago. The drug law in New York is not the same thing in Washington. We can Google it. We don't need to go far. You don't need to go far. So what I'm saying is, yeah, Mr. Sai, I will. You know that. Yes, Mr. Speaker, I will round up. Even the so-called Indian Hemp Act, some states have liberalized it. Before us here, there's a bill waiting for the liberalization and control of Indian hemp plant. People get cannabis oil. It's lucrative. It's money. A pint of cannabis oil is worth a lot of hundreds of dollars. It's richer than crude oil. People expect we buy it for pharmaceutical use when we can also grow it. Some people the bill is before us here. We've not thrown it away. So the argument here is now, let it go to a wider debate. It must do the second reading. It must cross. So that the greater Nigerians will have opportunities to do that. So stopping it here will amount to
thank you.
Whatever. I so speak,
yes,
Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for yielding the floor to me. My name is Ukondo Benkole. I represent Aruchukwu After Federal Constituency. Distinguished colleagues, I rise this morning to lend my voice in support of this bill. Like Honorable Abonta has quite submitted. The issue here is to decongest the specific activities that have been exclusively loaded to the executive at the level. Now, when you talk about these drugs, these substances, it's causing a lot of menace, even to the rural communities. And there are no checks, no standard, no regulatory agencies, permitting down to the grassroots to check all these things. This is part of the faults, personally, I have seen that is with all the overbloated or over distinct functions given to the executive. Take for example like NAFDAC. NAFDAC, I'm not sure they have any office in my state. Neither do they have in my local government. Neither do they have in my ward. All these things are expected to permeate to the grassroots. And the effects of most of all these substances, these hard drugs and all these poisons, are mostly felt at the grassroots. So allowing states to make laws for the effective control of all these things will even give it a broader approach to control them. So I want to plead with my colleagues and others that we allow this bill go for second reading, where respective stakeholders will come in and do justice to it. Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, thank you for giving me audience. I so submit. Thank you.
Honorable Adams.
I said, I am Musa Sirkin Adel. I represent Gadago Federal Constituency. I'm from Sokoto State. And I'm almost preempted by the last speaker. I wanted to plead with our colleagues to see reason and allow this bill to go for the second reading. We should not forget, when a bill is passed or it has passed second reading, it will go to the third reading, to public hearing. And at public hearing, members of the public will come there. And it's the outcome of the report there that will come back to us in form of report, if they accept or reject it. And meanwhile, like the earlier speaker have said, there are so many issues of national concern that are devolved between the federal and the states. For example, road traffic management. We have Federal Road Safety Agency and we have VIOs in the states. And we find there's no much conflict among the two. So if you allow this to be in the concurrent legislative list, it is the choice of a particular state to implement or even to stay aloof and allow it to be controlled by the federal. It is not something that is sacrosanct that when we pass it here, all states will come along and align themselves with what we have passed here. But at least one of us have opined that this thing should be allowed to go on concurrent list. We should support him. It's a good idea, it's a beautiful idea, and we should allow it to go. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Tobi Okechukwu, and I represent an area of Wodi River Federal Constituency from Enugu State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, we will appreciate the level of malaise we have in this country regarding the abuse in manufacturing, the abuse in consumption of drugs across the Federation. Whether there are licensed drugs, they get still abused. There are adulterations everywhere. And what you need to ask, Mr. Speaker, is to what extent are the federal authorities enough? I understand that there could be challenges spreading yourself thin regarding setting up authorities that will control in 37 states. Mr. Speaker, this federal government needs to shed weight. It needs to shed weight. It needs to leave some responsibilities for the constituent parts of the Federation. So I think that this, in spite of there are some negatives around it, but it is better interrogated by professionals in public hearing. Let us subject it to scrutiny. It is only that you can have a knowledge-based decision. So the intendment of the bill, we might say, okay, it is good to be careful, but it is also important for us to do. You can look at the issues of quarantine because of probably outbreak of diseases and all, and you say it's only the president. The president is not omnipresent. He cannot know everything everywhere. But we must have sufficient framework for the control of the component parts. So I think that we need to, err on the side of making it available for our people to have contribution to it. I think it should go for second reading. Thank you very much.
Leader.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Thank you, honorable members. Ado Dogwa is my name. Mr. Speaker, I represent the people of Tudunwada, Dogwa Federal Constituency. Honorable members, I am from Kano State. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I rise having listened to the submissions for and against by members on this very important bill. But I would like to reflect more specifically on the points just advanced by the minority leader of the House, the acting minority leader, Honorable Toby Okechukwu, that the issue of drugs and poison has been a serious issue of concern to our people, especially the youth. Members will all agree with me that this is a menace that we must put all hands on deck to be able to address. And by my understanding, Mr. Speaker, the good intention of the mover of this amendment bill should not be undermined because he's operating on a safe pedestal. He's asking this House to move this subject matter to the concurrence list, not to move the matter to the residual list, where the state will have absolute control on the matter. In a situation whereby the agitation or the mover is asking for like a double play and a joint play between the center and the state on a matter that is so important like the drugs and poison matter in this country, I think it's a win-win situation. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, honorable members, it is my belief that when this bill passed to second reading and subsequently gets amended on the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, it will rather strengthen the effective management of drugs and poison in this country. The governors at the state level will have the room to contribute, to contribute and support the center. And the center will also have the same opportunity to do it. And when a matter is subjected to a concurrent list, honorable members, let me remind us, it is still within the purview of the center to supersede in a situation whereby the state contradicts the central position of the center. It is still the position of the center that prevails. So I think it's a win-win situation. Just like other members have said, I would like to plead with this honorable House to please allow this bill get to the second reading, and we will all join it at the public hearing. Members of the Nigerian public will also come to contribute and give us their own contribution as to the way and manner we shall handle this bill. But in my opinion, it is a very good bill, well intended, and this House of the people of Nigeria should have every reason to support this bill. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, I so plead with you, let us just pass it for a second reading. Thank you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Respected colleagues, I will beg you to put the question. At least we have heard. And so the question now is, those in favor that the bill be read second and say aye. Aye. Against say nay. The question now is that those in favor that the bill be read second time say aye. Aye. Against say nay. There will be no division in this House by the grace of God. Please, colleagues, let's use our normal voice. We should avoid. Against any. The next subject. Respected colleagues, the fourth order of the day is a commencement debate on the general principle of bill for an act to amend the Matrimonial Causes Act Cap M7 Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004 to increase the amount to be paid as penalty and for this matter standing in name Honorable Obina Chidoka. All members will recall the bill was read the first time on Tuesday, 16 March 2021, and I invite Honorable Chidoka to move that the bill raised the second time.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Obinna Chidoka, member representing Idemili North, Idemili South Federal Constituency of Anambra State. Mr. Speaker, I rise this afternoon to move that a bill for an act to amend the Matrimonial Causes Act, Cap M7 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, to increase the amount to be paid as penalty and for other related matters, 2020, be read a second time, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Ukondo Kwenkole. I represent Aruchukwu Hafe Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion for the second reading of the bill as proposed by my in-law. Honorable Speaker, I so move.
Honorable Chidoka, lead the debate.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues. This is a very straightforward amendment on a bill of the Matrimonial Causes Act Amendment Bill 2020. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, the Matrimonial Causes Act was first promulgated on the 17th of March 1970, which is now 51 years old. Since its enactment, no amendment to the Act has taken place, thus leaving the amount specified as penalties at the 1970s rates that have become ineffective and most ridiculous. This bill seeks to review these figures to bring the provisions of the Act back to realistic expectations and demands. So very simply, the Act seeks to, the affected sections are Section 31, 32, 1C, and 33 of the Principal Act. And Mr. Speaker, all we are saying is that in such cases where there is a dissolution of marriage or
what's the point of order?
Okay, Your Excellency, my dear colleagues, I want to rely on Order 12, 1. Your Excellency, with your kind permission, let me read verbatim. Our rule says, notice of presentation of a bill. Any member, 2, any member who wishes to move a motion for leave to bring a bill shall give notice of provision to be embodied in the bill to the clerk, who shall cause them to be published in the official gazette of the House and send a copy of the first batch of issues to every member. Your Excellency, Mr. Speaker, my dear friend, I want to breach my privileges as a member of this House because I do not have either the old version of the bill, the principal bill, even the issues you want to contend, the penalty you want to increase. Your Excellency, I do not know who. Because as he speaks, as I see Your Excellency, I do not know whether my friend has the matrimonial issues, why he's interested in increasing the penalty. So, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I want to believe that if you have properly checked your box, you will have found the compendium and then the gazette. The rules and business couldn't have scheduled this bill for consideration without following the due process. So you are ruled out of order.
put off yours. Okay. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for protecting me from my dear friend who I suspect is worried about the fines. He has nothing to worry about. The fines are very minimal in case he's thinking of taking another wife. Yes, Mr. Speaker, as I was saying, there are only 2 amendments here, which is very simple. When there are a contestation on dissolution of marriage, from the 1970s section, let me go straight to section 32, which says that a person who makes false statement to the court in relation to the earnings of a defendant, the amendment increases the amount provided as fine from only 200 naira to 5,000 naira. So if you go to the court and you lie about your earnings, in 1970 they say you should pay only 200 naira. So if you are, as you are here today and you have issues with one of your spouses, I'm talking to my friend now, one of his spouses, and you go to court and lie, they want to increase the fine from only 200 naira to 5,000 naira. And also to amend the fine levied on an employer, because the employee might go to court and lie about his earnings so that his wife or the other spouse will not get what is due them. What we are simply saying is that the fine levied on an employer for dismissing an employee against who order has been made attaching his earnings from 200 naira to 5,000 naira, Mr. Speaker. They are very simple fines. It's just to make sure we increase it. In fact, I would have felt that we should increase it much more than this, so that people will not willfully go to court or the employer go to court and hide the employee. It's just to make sure that every statement you make in court against the dissolution of marriage is right. So it's very simple. There's no contestation here, and there's nothing really so difficult about this act. We have not gone into the nitty-gritty of dissolution of marriage. All we're saying is that when you go to court, in case you have a court judgment against you and you make certain applications that are false, then we should be able to pay some penalties, which has been here since 1971. That is all we are requesting for, right, Honorable Speaker, and I hope my colleagues will go through it and approve as stated. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Gimbe Nduku.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, my highly respected colleagues. I'm Honorable Aisha Jibril Duku, Gimbier Duku, member representing Duku for the Federal Constituency. I come from Gombe State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to lend my voice on this very important bill. Mr. Speaker, I want to add that most of the time there's an issue in marriage. The woman suffers. She suffers a lot because even in court, she is being victimized. The charges are even too small, Mr. Speaker. I even want to move for an amendment, inshallah, so that it should be, the charge should be according to the situation, the current situation, because even with 5,000 naira, what would 5,000 naira do for the woman, for God's sake? For the proposal. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that we need to look at this bill and also to support it so that justice, should not be denied to the woman especially, not to the man. I want our colleagues to support this bill. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Those in favor that the bill be raised to court and say aye. Against say nay. That's have it. Clerk is invited to read the long title of the bill.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to amend the Matrimonial Causes Act, Cap M7, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, to increase the amount to be paid as penalty and for related matters. Second reading.
Bill referred to Committee on Justice. The fifth order of the day is the commencement of debate on the general principle of a bill for an act to amend the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020 and for related matters, and name Honorable Ogona Ozugbo. Honorable members will recall that the bill was read the first time on Tuesday, 29 September 2020, and I invite Honorable Ogbuna to move that the bill be read second time. Bills. Respected colleagues, the sixth order of the day is a commencement of debate on the general principle of a bill for an act to repeal the Patent and Patents and Designs Act, CAP, P2 Laws of Federation of Nigeria, and enact 2004 and enact patents and design bills and related matters. Standing now, Honorable Oluga Taiwo, honorable members recall the bill was read for the first time on Thursday, 12 February 2020. I now invite Honorable Oluga to move that the bill be read the second time.
This law, as we speak, was enacted in 1971, Mr. Speaker. If 1971 compared to what we are today, even if you come to the level of ordinary our phones in the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, I think we all know that the country has stepped up all over the world. They have stepped up, not staying at the same place, not to talk of the 1971 Act guiding the patent and the designer. People come up with ideas, people come up with solutions to problems. And we found out that in Nigeria, they are not being celebrated, they are not being recognized. Even these bills, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, it will interest you that the 1971 bill does not give us the definition of patent. It is not defined there. It is not clearly stated. And you don't have the right. Even if you work as an employer, you work in an organization, you come up, for example, an engineer, sir. You come up with a solution, with a design. The existing law, sir, takes over whatever you come up with. Instead of you to enjoy it, as you have the monopoly of it. I'm telling you, there's need. If truly we are building our country, Nigeria, if truly we want to move forward, if truly we want solutions to the problem, it is high time we start celebrating, we start keeping, we start recognizing people with intellect that are coming up with this solution. So I urge my honorable colleagues this afternoon that you should please support this bill, the motion to scale through the second reading, so that at the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, very briefly and in conclusion, that will support the passage of this bill. It will strengthen the legal framework for the protection of intellectual property in Nigeria. It will boost our economy and will fulfill the international obligation within the Committee of Nations. I so submit, Mr. Speaker, and I thank you, honorable colleagues.
It's a very straightforward bill. Those in favor that the bill reads second time say aye. Against say nay. That's it. With you under. Sorry, clerks invited to the long title.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to repeal the Patents and Designs Act, Cap P2, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, and enact the Patents and Designs Bill and for related matters, second reading.
Respected colleagues, the second order of the day I didn't mention justice. So commerce. Bill referred to Committee on Commerce. Today is the commencement of debate on the general principle of a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of Federal College of Agriculture and Technology, or Tun Ekiti, and for related matters standing there on Olaruwaju Ibrahim Kule. All members who recall the bill were read the first time on Tuesday, 30th January 2020. I now invite Honorable Olaruwaju to move that the bill read the second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I am Honorable Ibrahim Plenay Olaruwaju. I represent the entire people of Mopa, Idosi, the Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I am from Ekiti State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that the bill for an act to provide for the establishment of Federal College of Agricultural Technology, or to Ekiti, and for related matters be read for the second time. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Seconder, Your Excellency Room.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I quite appreciate your observation and endorsement. Mr. Speaker, my respected colleagues, I am Right Honorable Kabir Al-Assarurum. I represent Rano Bunkura Kibe Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I am from Kano. I rise to second the motion, ably moved by Honorable Ibrahim. I so second.
Honorable Kule, lead the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a very straightforward bill. It's an establishment bill. My Lord, Mr. Speaker, this bill has a very peculiar interest. Of course, there have been several establishment bills establishing institutes and College of Agriculture. But, Mr. Speaker, when you look at this, the title of this bill, it seeks to establish an agricultural technology institution. The proponent, or the reason for bringing this bill is because, of course, we have several institutions that tend to establish agricultural institutions. But because we often import inputs, implements to this country, we fail to establish institutions to look at the technology behind this implement we import. And in most cases, when we import implements, they break down. All we do is to import another one without learning the ropes on how to fix the one we bought. Mr. Speaker, the reason, therefore, is that enough of wasting our resources on importing implements. We should be able to learn the technology behind this implement, and we should be able to build our own. And that is why this institution is very unique. This institution, by the bill, is to be established in a town known as Otun Ekiti. Otun Ekiti is a town blessed with very vast virgin land. Lot of agricultural activities can be carried out there, and thus helping the plan to develop the technology to develop the agricultural sector of this country. Mr. Speaker, I therefore pray that honorable colleagues will find means to support this bill so that we will begin to teach our younger ones the technology behind the improvement of agricultural technology in this country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Those in favor that the bill be read second time, say aye. Against, say nay. That's have it. Clerk is invited to read the long title of the bill.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to provide for establishment of Federal College of Agricultural Technology, Otun Ekiti, and for related matters. Second reading.
Refer to Committee on Agricultural Colleges and Institutions. Respected colleagues, the eighth order of the day is a motion on need to investigate the transfer debt incurred by all electricity customers to new users by distribution companies in Nigeria, standing in the Honorable Olatunji Abiola Shoinka. Honorable Shoinka is invited with the motion.
Mr. Speaker, my name still remains Honorable Shoinka Olatunji Abiola, representing the very good people of Surulere 2 Federal Constituency, and from the Center of Excellence, a Lagosian. I stand to move a motion needs to investigate transfer debt incurred by old electricity consumers to new users by distribution company in Nigeria. You are also aware of the constant complaint by electricity consumers on the poor service provided by electricity distribution company DISCO, which are also in the habit of transferring outstanding debts of old customers to the new users. Also aware that the distribution companies which are responsible for collection of payments for service rendered to customers allow unpaid bills to accumulate, do not follow the laid down principle and guidelines by regulatory authority towards unpaid bills and disconnection of not paying customers. Concerned that if nothing is done to curb the act of transferring debts incurred by other customers to new customers, the latter will consume to bear the burden of paying for the electricity they did not consume. The House resolved to mandate the Committee on Power to engage the distribution companies and other related regulatory agencies to find a lasting solution and report within 4 weeks. Second, also mandate the Committee on Electricity Compliance to ensure compliance. I so move.
Seconder. Yes. Zamfara.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My respected honorable colleague, my name is Honorable Bragaja Mohammed, member presenting East Sabonville from Sokoto State. I read this motion raised by Honorable Shoyinka. Mr. Speaker, I so second.
Honorable, please lead the debate.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, we don't want to waste the hours of legislation. This is straightforward base that explains itself. So I'll employ and beg members that these motions be made to see the light of the day, because it affects all our constituents and affects ourselves as well. Thank you.
Let's make progress. Contrary?
I am not amended. Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues, I remain Honorable Osai Nicholas Osai. I represent the Okwani Federal Constituency of Delta State by the mandate given to me. Mr. Speaker, I have extracted this motion very critically, and I have also looked at the stakeholders in this motion. I've looked at the stakeholders on this motion. First of all, the stakeholders are landlords, electricity distributors, and actually a customer that have come into the picture. The most important thing is that this house is a house of rules, where rules are generated, where laws are generated and enacted and extended to Nigerians. And I must, since we National Assembly members obey the laws, rules, and regulations, I believe, Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues, that any person in this country that occupy a particular building, who is a customer, that have stayed for a particular place, ought to pay his bill or her own bills. Whereby such a person refuses to pay his or her own bills, what is the punitive measures that we intend to take? Because that's the reason why the discos are extending the liability to the new customer. So it is in that ground that probably this committee is going to look critically in bringing out their resolutions and their recommendations. So I am saying that in making recommendations, as I'm extending to it, to the committees concerned, that they should look critically, that even the customers that have defaulted over the years can be recalled to pay for such bill, instead of transferring such bill to the new customer. It is on this ground I rest my case.
Abiante, what's the point of order?
So in order not to jeopardize the outcomes, I don't think we need to throw it open for further debate. Thank you very much.
What is the point of order? Yes, sir. Yeah, amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Olumide Oshoba, representing Abeokuta North, Obafemodi, and Odeda Federal Constituency. Prayer 1, I would like to include Nigerian Electricity Regulation Commission. They are the ones that regulate the discos. So I would like to include them in the Committee on Power, inviting them along with the discos. That's my amendment. Thank you.
Seconder to the amendment? Okay. It's in prayer 1. That your prayer is already in prayer 1. No, we want to put the question. Honorable, you had the observation that their prayer is already captured under prayer 1. Okay. Any seconder? Thank you. Yes, Banikoro.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my colleagues. I am Representative Ibrahim Babajide of Banikoro, and I still represent Etiosa Federal Constituency. I rise to second the amendment moved by my colleague, Representative Oshoba. I so second.
Those in favor of the amendment say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of the motion as amended say aye. For the amendment? Okay, sorry.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, Tobi Okechukwu is my name. I represent an area of Goji River Federal Constituency from Enugu State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I think I would want to propose an amendment, and this is to ensure some level of functionality regarding the committee's work. First and foremost, we must know that there is privity of contract. Nobody should be able to inherit anybody's liability. Privity of contract is belonging to an entity and the person is contract. 2 is that what will cure this, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, sorry, is what is the status of the government regulation regarding prepaid meters. So they should find out the status of operations of prepaid meters or the level of fulfillment. What he's saying is because he's living in an urban area in Surulere. In my own village, it's bulk metering. In fact, what they have done is to de-electrify all my constituency, Mr. Speaker. And these distribution companies are acting much more in breach. So my own amendment is the committee should investigate the status of prepaid meter as a policy of the federal government, its level of implementation. I so amend.
Seconder, Honorable Engineer.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Honorable Engineer Sanubala, representing Kunchi Sanya Federal Constituency from Kano State. I rise to second as the motion, the amendment as moved by honorable member. I so second.
What's the amendment about?
The subject matter as discussed.
Those in favor of the amendment say aye. Against any, the ayes have it. As amended say aye. Against any, the ayes have it. Respected colleagues, The ninth order of the day is a motion on need to initiate a bilateral agreement with the United States of America on the voluntary transfer of Nigerian convicted in America to complete their prison service in Nigeria, standing in no Honorable Obasa Tajuddin Adekule. Honorable Obasa is invited to move the motion.
Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Honorable Tajuddin Adekule Obasa, representing Ojo Federal Constituency from Lagos State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I want to step down this motion for the legislative consultation. I hereby move. Thank you.
Motion stepped down by the leader of the House. Respected colleagues, the 10th order of the day is a motion on need to establish, or the need for establishment of African Regional Parliamentary Assembly on the Sahel and Sahara member states on the Great Green Wall, standing in now Honorable Johnson Oguma. Honorable Oguma is invited to move the motion.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, and my respected colleagues. I am Honorable Johnson Oguma. I represent all the people of Isako Federal Constituency. I am from Edo State. Mr. Speaker, my motion this morning is on the need for the establishment of African Regional Parliamentary Assembly of the Sahel and Sahara member states on the Great Green Wall. The House notes the African Union Declaration 137-8 of 2010, wherein Burkina Faso, Chad, Djibouti, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Mali, Mauritania, Niger, Nigeria, Senegal, and Sudan signed a convention in N'Djamena, Chad, to create the Great Green Wall agencies in their various states. Also notes that the establishment of the Great Green Wall agencies in member states in recent times has given rise to an integrated ecosystem management approach. Aware that the Great Green Wall initiative has revived interest in sustainable land management in the Sahel and north of the Sahara, and has galvanized actions to implement the United Nations Convention to combat desertification of the UNCCD, and has leveraged a high degree of political will and leadership from member states. Also aware that those actions have increased awareness, and several donors have also mobilized substantial investments, which are offering opportunities for rapid progress, hence the need to sustain the momentum gained over the years by improving the legislative interface by member states so as to overcome past mistakes. Cognizant that the purpose of the project is the greater implementation of policies for sustainable land management in the Sahel Green Wall countries through enhanced investment, intersectorial coordination, engagement of marginalized groups. The House resolved to request the Honorable Speaker of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to take the lead to reach out to speakers of other member states with a view to establishing an African Regional Parliamentary Assembly of Sahel and Sahara member states on the Great Green Wall Initiative, GGWI. The House urged the Minister of Environment to liaise with his counterparts in the Great Green Wall states to enlist the African Regional Parliamentary Assembly of the Sahel and the Sahara member states on the Great Green Wall as an agenda for discussion during the next meeting of the Conference of Heads of States and Governments of Great Green Wall via the Council of Ministers. Also resolved to mandate the Committee on Environment to ensure compliance. Mr. Speaker, and my respected colleagues, and so move.
Seconder. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Mohammed Shamsuddin Bello. I represent the agrarian constituency of Taka Ismaila in Kano State, and I second the motion. Thank you.
I guess this is a very straightforward motion. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. That's have it. Respected colleagues, the 11th order of the day is a motion calling on the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission (NEREC) to suspend the proposed increase in electricity tariff. Standing now, Honorable Anikan Omana. Honorable Omana is invited to move the motion.
Very much, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, my name is Honorable Anikan Umana, member representing the unique and hardworking people of Abak Itimegwika Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, we are from Akwa Ibom State. Mr. Speaker, I have a motion calling on the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, to suspend the proposed increase in electricity tariff. The House knows or recalls that the Electric Power Sector Act of 2005 established the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission with a mandate to license distribution companies, DISCOs, to determine operating codes and standards, establish customer rights and obligations, and set cost-reflective industry tariff. Also recalls that the Act prescribed its funding from 15% of electricity charges paid by customers to distribution companies. Aware that NERC, working with distribution companies as the DISCOs, has increased electricity tariffs 5 times since 2015, and the latest being on January 1st, 2021. Also aware that despite these increases, Nigerians have not enjoyed significant improvement in power generation and supply. Instead, they daily grapple with epileptic services from the DISCOs and unilateral exploitation in the name of estimated billing arising from non-metering of over 50% of consumers in our country. Observes that the poor services of the DISCOs have impacted negatively on the socioeconomic activity growth of the country, as the International Monetary Fund, IMF report of 2020 on Nigeria indicated that the manufacturing sector lost over $200 billion to inadequate power supply, and while a whopping $21 billion was paid or was said to have been spent by Nigerians on generating sets within the period under review. Further observes that Nigerian masses have gone through so much hardship in recent times arising from acts of terrorism, banditry, kidnapping, farmers and herders crisis with its toll on the agricultural activities, displacement from ancestral homes, loss of loved ones, starvation arising from inability to return to daily economic occupation, and loss of personal properties running into several millions of naira. Concerned that at a time governments all over the world are adopting measures to cushion the devastating effect of the dreaded COVID-19 pandemic on their citizens by providing a wide range of palliatives to losses of loved ones, jobs, businesses, and general distortion of social life. NERC, that's the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, is thinking with the idea of further increasing electricity tariff after that of January 1, 2021, in a country where 2/3 of over 200 million people population is grappling with the crippling effect of a pandemic. Mr. Speaker, we're also concerned that the current economic recession made worse the hyperinflation has resulted in skyrocketing prices of foodstuff, while increase in prices of petroleum products has also triggered further increase in transport costs and rents, with unemployment rates frightening at about 33.3%, while the spending power of average Nigerians has drastically reduced. Any further hike in electricity tariff, Mr. Speaker, at this time will amount to an overkill, lack of empathy, and the height of insensitivity. The House therefore resolves to urge the federal government to direct the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission to rescind this decision to further increase electricity tariff proposed for June 2021 in view of the hard times Nigerian masses are currently going through. 2, mandate committees on power, poverty alleviation, labor, employment, and productivity to ensure compliance. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Seconder. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Boniface Emenegwa. I represent the people of Ikwerema Federal Constituency. I'm from River State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second this thought-provoking, emotional-provoking motion moved by my colleague, Anyake Omana. I so second. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Respected colleagues, this is an infrastructure-related motion, so I now put the question. Point of order? Before the question. What's the point of order?
Come into a conclusion within the same section. Mr. Speaker, you agree that this motion was raised at this pandemic time during this section to look into for the regulatory agencies to suspend the increment of tariff for the House, to enable the House to look into it. As we discussed today, Mr. Speaker, that committee has not brought its report. That committee has not brought its report in the same section. So I believe when we continue to move this motion, appeal, very fantastic motion, protective, protect Nigeria. But the question is this: the committee saddled with that job, who was mandated to carry out that action, how far have they carried it? In this section, it was done in this section. So, that action which the House has mandated that committee is in action. And up till now, that committee has not made its report. The evidence is there in the rules. The evidence is there in the rules.
Well, what Orosai have quoted is actually in the rules. It shall be out of order to attempt to consider any specific question upon which the House has come to a conclusion during the current session, except upon a specific motion for decision. And the only person that can confirm to us that yes, this matter was taken is the chairman rules or the clerk. So clerk, can you confirm to us? Yes, Honorable Johnson.
Distinguished colleagues, I am Johnson Oguma. I represent the Itako Federal Constituency. I from Edo State. Why I stood up, Mr. Speaker, is when you look at this motion, is trying to mitigate an action that is about to happen in June, suspending a plan that is about to happen in June. So if we undermine this motion, an action that is about to happen will happen while we are still searching for the stage of a motion that has already moved, that is already under investigation. So I so submit, Mr. Speaker.
But Mr. Honorable Johnson, if the House was futuristic to have come with a motion regarding this matter, it is for the committee now to conclude their own function. If at all the question has been put, it's not for us now to generate another motion to to deal with the same subject matter. We will now be putting the House in conflict within ourselves, which is not the intent. And the intention is to ensure that we have synergy in whatever we're doing. So, Honorable Flatter, can you clear the air? We have to make rule on this one before we can take another point of order, sir. Let him make a statement.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I am Abubakar Samfulata. I represent Berniwa Krika Samaguri Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Jigawa State. Mr. Speaker, yes, it is true that there was a similar motion, but the mandate, the prayer then was to mandate the Committee on Power to interface with the Minister for Power and other stakeholders to stop the increase at that time. And indeed, it was stopped. Okay? So the motion earlier moved has served its purpose. Served its purpose. It was stopped. But the increment by the power agencies is gradual. They are gradually killing people, gradually extorting people. So, Mr. Speaker, the previous motion has served its purpose.
And to the General, guide the House properly.
Yes. This motion is valid and should be taken. This motion is valid and should be taken, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
That's my
Thank you. Honorable Sada.
Mr. Speaker, my name is Sada Soli, representing Jibia Kaita Federal Constituency. I'm from Katsina State, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, with due apologies and due regards to my colleague Osai, the order he cited is wrong. This order, if you go through it, you check this order is talking about on recession. It's purely talking about recession. And what we're discussing here is a substantial motion which was put on notice, and there was no recession on. So this motion, if at all we are going to reconsider this motion, there must be we must rescind the motion that we considered before for us to take this. But as long as there was no rescission on the previous decision, this motion will go through. Because it was on notice.
Well,
it was on notice.
My brother, I still will have leaned towards Osai. But for the fact that the matter was dealt with, so that we do not juggle with our rule today, and then tomorrow we'll find it difficult on the interpretation. Yes, a similar motion was taken, and we got the purpose. We still have another issue on the same matter. So in the light of that, I put the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Against say nay. That's a bit. Thank you. Grateful. Respected colleagues, the 12th order of the day is a motion calling on the federal government to ensure speedy resolution of the lingering strike action by Judicial Staff Union of Nigeria, JOSUN, standing in honor of Sergeant Ogun. Honorable members, Honorable Ogun is invited to move the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My highly esteemed colleagues, I'm Sergius Ose Ogun. I represent Eastern Northeast, Eastern Southeast, and I'm from Edo State. Call on the federal government to ensure speedy resolution of the lingering strike action by the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria, JUSUN. The House notes that Section 4, Sub 2B of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended provides that National Assembly shall have power to make laws for the peace, order, and good government of the Federation or any part thereof. It has also notes that on 6th April 2021, the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria, JUSON, embarked on an indefinite strike owing to the failure of government to implement financial autonomy for the judiciary in line with constitutional provisions and the judgment of the Federal High Court. The House is concerned that the strike, which has persisted for over a month, has paralyzed the functions, operations, and activities of all courts in Nigeria, thereby shutting the door on access to justice against Nigerians. The House is aware that the judiciary is a critical component of government that is saddled with responsibility of adjudication of disputes, which facilitates the smooth running and functioning of the state. As such, the closure of courts portends grave danger to the polity and is capable of exacerbating the current security situation in the country. The House is also concerned that the strike has contributed to the overcrowding police cells and correctional facilities across the country, as inmates are unable to go for trial or even get bail, as well as festering of disputes between private citizens, as there is no judicial forum to submit their grievances for resolution. The House appreciates the federal government and some state government for the steps they have taken so far to resolve the dispute so that the strike can be called off. The House resolves: 1, urge the federal government and government of the states to speedily intervene and resolve the lingering strike by the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria, JUSON. 2, mandate the Committees on Labor, Employment and Productivity and Judiciary to interface with the Minister of Labor and Employment and the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice to steps taken to address the matter and report within 4 weeks for further legislative action. Mr. Speaker,
Seconder. Deputy Chairman.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Thank you, honorable colleagues. I remain Vincent Ekene Ofumelu, Esquire. I represent the good people of Oyi, and I am a federal constituency. I am from Anambra State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion heavily moved by my colleague, Honorable Sejus. I so second, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, my colleagues. Oh, my very senior colleague. Right, Honorable Sejus.
Thank you. It's a very straightforward motion, but we have 2 amendments. First from Iken Obonta.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Uzoman Kimabonta. I wish to amend, having read the body of the motion and seen the urgency, in the next 4 weeks, we may be on vacation. I therefore sought to abridge the time request, asking for 4 weeks to 2 weeks, to enable us to conclude this matter before the House should go on the long vacation. The long vacation may be up to 7 or 8 weeks, so we need to conclude the urgency attached to this motion. Therefore, I ask that 2 weeks be mandatorily given to the committee.
I think the same amendment from Honorable Abianti. So Abianti second for the amendment. Clerk.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, and my distinguished colleagues. I remain Awaji Nombek Dagomie Abiante. I represent Andoni Opoponkoro Federal Constituency of Rivers State. I rise to second the amendment as moved by my very distinguished colleague, Abonta, to abridge the timing for 2 weeks so that we can be quite effective on this. Thank you.
Those in favor of the amendment say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes, sir.
Okay. My name is Honorable Ifeanyi Chudimoma. I speak for Ihiala Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my amendment is in sub 2, which says mandate the committees on labor, employment and productivity and judiciary to interface with the Minister of Labor and Employment and the General of Federation and Minister of Justice on steps to be taken and all that. My amendment reads thus: since it's Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria, which includes both FCT judiciary staff workers and federal judiciary staff workers, and we're talking about interfacing with the Minister of Justice. So my amendment reads thus: to mandate the committees on labor and employment and FCT judiciary, federal judiciary and justice to interface with the said agencies. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Seconder? Yes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Obina Chidoka, member representing Idemili North, Idemili South Federal Constituency of Anambra State. I rise this afternoon to second the motion as moved by Right Honorable Chudi Mwamba, my junior colleague, on his amendment. Thank you, sir.
Those in favor of the amendments, say aye. Against, say nay. That's have it. Against, say nay. That's have it. A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of Federal Capital Territory Transfer Authority and for related matters. All members will recall that the bill was committed to the Committee of the Whole on Tuesday, 14 July 2020. Honorable Gideon Gwani will move for his consideration.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Honorable Gideon Gwani. I come from Kaduna State. I represent Kaura Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I move that a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of Federal Capital Territory Transport Authority and for related matters, that this bill's report be considered. So,
I thought this is an executive bill. It's not executive bill. Okay. Seconder? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, my name is Honorable Musa Umar Garu, member representing Gorza Kabo Federal Constituency. I rise to second the bill ably moved by Honorable Gideon Gwani. I so second.
Those in favor say aye. Against, say nay. That's have it. The 14th order of the day is consideration of a bill for an act to repeal the Nigerian Council for Management Development Act Cap N99 Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004 and the National Center for Economic Management and Administration Act Cap N14 Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004 and enact the Nigerian Council for Management Development Bill and for related matters. All members recall that the bill was committed to the Committee of the Whole on Wednesday, 9 December 2020. Honorable Abbas Tajuddin would move for his consideration.
Right, Honorable Speaker, my honorable colleagues, my name is Honorable Tajuddin Abbas. I represent Zaire Federal Constituency. I'm from Kaduna State. I move to raise for a bill. I rise to move that the bill for an act to repeal the Nigerian Council for Management Development Act, Cap N99, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and the Nigerian National Center for Economic Management and Administration Act, Cap N14, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact the Nigerian Council for Management Development Bill and for related matters. I so move.
Seconder, Honorable Adejari.
Mr. Speaker, colleagues, I still remain Honorable Dr. Mr. Speaker, sir, I represent the wonderful people of Agege of Lagos State. I'm from Lagos State. I stand to second the motion as moved by Honorable Tajudeen Abbas. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it. An act to amend the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act, Laws of Nigeria 2004, and for related matters, all members recall that the bill was committed committee of the whole on Tuesday, 28 February 2020. On Munir Baba, now when they will move for his consideration.
Honorable Munir, please go back to your seat, please.
Honorable colleagues, I rise to present the consideration of a bill for an act to amend Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and other related matters. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Nasiru.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
That is where I sit. So,
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the motion as moved by Honorable Munir Baba. I so second.
those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it. It's consideration of a report on the Committee on Health Institutions on a bill for an act to establish the Nigerian Health Infrastructure Development Bank to enhance and promote the health and well-being of Nigerians of all walks of life, to boost local healthcare capacity, and for less matters. All members recall that the report was laid on Tuesday, 23rd March 2021. On Pascal Obi will move for its consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Dachu Musa Bagos, representing the good, great people of Jos South, Jos East Federal Constituency, standing on behalf of Committee on Health Institution, that the House do consider the report of the Committee on Health Institutions on a bill for an act to establish the Nigerian Health Infrastructure Development Bank to enhance and promote the health and well-being of Nigerians of all walks of life, to boost local healthcare capacity, and for related matters, HB 908, and approve the recommendations therein.
Seconder. Yes. Honorable Kusada. Maybe you use your campaign voice.
still like to. Okay. Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues, I am Abubakar Yahya Pusada. I represent Kankia Pusada and Federal Constituency. I rise to second the motion heavily moved by Honorable Babos. Thank you.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it. The 17th order of the day is consideration of a report of the Committee of Healthcare Services on a bill for an act to amend the National Agency for Food and Drugs Administration and Control ACAP N1 Loss Federation Nigeria 2004 to provide for the payment of all monies received by the agency into the Federation account in accordance with Section 162 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended and for related matters. Other members will recall that the report was laid on Tuesday, 23rd March 2021. Of the town Kosonunu will move for its consideration.
Mr. Speaker, I'm Honorable Dr. Yusuf Tanko Sununu. I represent Yauri Shanga in Gaski Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Kebbi State. Mr. Speaker, before I raise my motion, I want to make a correction. My correct name is Yusuf Tanko Sununu, and it's S-U-N-U-N-U, not N-O. Please. I rise to present a motion for the consideration of a report on a bill for an act to amend the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control Act, CAP N1 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 to provide for the payment of all monies received by the agency into Federation account in accordance with Section 162 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended. For related matters, the House Bill number 168 and approve the recommendation therein. Thank you. I so move.
Thank you. Seconder of the Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, my colleagues, I remain Honorable Abubakar Dairu. I rise to second the motion having moved by Tanko Sununu. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it. Move that the House do dissolve the Committee of the Whole to consider the report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm Comrade Peter Hyozoja Akwatisi, and I represent Akukwe, the Federal Constituency. I move that the House do dissolve to the Committee of the Whole to consider a report. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Seconder, Acting Chief Whip.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I'm Honorable Engineer Sanubala, representing Kunshi Sanya Federal Constituency. I rise to second the motion as moved by the Deputy Majority Leader. I so move.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it. The House is hereby dissolved into Committee of the Whole to consider. Respected colleagues, the first bill to be considered is for an act to provide for the establishment of Federal Capital Territory Transport Authority and for little matter. Now invite Honorable Gideon Goni to give the synopsis of the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, my name is Honorable Gideon Gwani. I come from Kaduna State. I represent Kaura Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, this bill seeks to give legal backing to the existing transport system in Abuja. There is a transport system that requires legal backing for it to exist and do its work properly. The bill seeks to establish a transport authority for the Federal Capital Territory, and it is charged with the responsibility of developing the infrastructure of the transport system in Abuja. It is also charged with the responsibility of putting into place a mechanism for regulating and monitoring public transportation and commercial transport system in Abuja. Amongst other things, it will be licensing both public and commercial transport operators, among others. Mr. Chairman, honorable colleagues, just like we have in all other states of the Federation a transport authority which every state has given legal backing to the existence of that transport authority. Unfortunately, for the Abuja transport system, there is no legal backing, and this is what this bill seeks to do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Maybe for further clarification, if I may ask, is this a committal of a bill that was earlier on before in the previous house?
Yes, it was. And then it was not assented to. It was.
Did you get the reasons as to why it was not assented for? Have you been able to address the issues?
Not exactly. Maybe I thought.
Yes. I have seen there some lapses. That's why I'm asking this question.
He's trying to show me something.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Chairman. Like he said, the bill actually went for assent. It was returned, but we were not made to know why it came. I thought the bill last session, it came, and one of the reasons was, I don't know, we were not communicated, we were asked to amend one or two things. We were never made to know what would be under. But now that he brought it again, the reason is that so we don't repeat the same thing. So if we look at it clause by clause again, I believe that those things have been taken care of. Like I also asked him one question now, say, is railway on concurrent list? Because one of the things they will do, their function is also monitor railway that pass Abuja.
My plea to my colleague leader is to, again, work with the Secretariat, the clerk's office. Normally, reasons as to why some of the bills are not certain are given, so they get to know exactly. So they will be able to address instead of now having a fallback. And I refer you, for instance, to 3. Go to page 2. 3, clause 3. It says, subject to this bill or any other law, the minister shall issue directive in writing to the authority and the area council regarding the implementation of the approved land transport policy. And then you go further and say the minister shall not issue any directive requiring the authority. So it's very contradictory. So I will plead with you to please step it down so that you go and do the needful, and as we come back, we'll be able to address it. This may be some of the issues that are there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, honorable colleagues. Mr. Chairman, I beg to step down the report for consideration today for me to consult properly with the Secretariat. Thank you.
Bill stepped down by for consideration by the leader of the House. For further legislative input, let me say. Respected colleagues, the second bill to be considered is for an act to repeal the Nigerian Council for Management Development Act, CAP N99, Laws Federation Nigeria 2004, and National Center for Economic Management and Administration Act Cap N1 for Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004 and enact the Nigerian Council for Management Development Bill and Related Matter. And I invite Abbas Tajuddin to give the signature to the bill. Doctor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. My honorable colleagues, this bill, as captioned, is to repeal the Nigerian Council for Management Development Act Cap N99, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, and the Nigeria National Center for Economic Management and Administration Act Cap N14, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, and to enact the Nigerian Council for Management Development Bill 2021 and for related matters. Honorable Chair, my honorable colleagues, this bill is just a formalization. The federal government has already taken steps to merge the two agencies. This is just to give a legal backing for these two agencies to be merged into one. And it was earlier presented in the 8th Assembly and was not assented by Mr. President because of some issues relating to the objectives. And those objectives were clearly reviewed to be in line with the mandate of the two agencies. So everything has been streamlined and the two agencies are already working together as one single entity as we are talking. So this is just to give legal backing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The most important is the gray areas have been cleared. Thank you. Clause 1. Clause 2. 2. Clause 4. Clause 5, clause 6. Clause 7. Clause 9. Clause 8. Clause 11. Clause 12. What's clause 12? Sarki, guide us. No, power to accept gifts. What do you have? No, you go to the third one. The third one is what they are going to use, not the initial one. The harmonized one is in the third column. Yes, sir. 13. 14. 15. 5, 6, 'I don't know whether this drafting is correct. There's a problem with the drafting. The drafting. Go to page 7, for instance. Deleting section 8. What will be now? Okay. So what are you going to do? Yes. Meaning you have to read the work entirety after. Thank you. Clause 8. 9. Ten. 12. 12 is on page 15. $14. Why is 13? Okay, 13 is on page 16. 14. Schedule. You have to rework it. Don't do that. Clumsy. You just pass it, then you go and do the reworking. 15. 17, 16. Explanatory memoranda. You have to do a lot of job to clean it. The fourth bill to consider is that is for an act to establish a Nigerian Health Infrastructure Development Bank to enhance and promote the health and well-being of Nigerians of all walks of life, to boost local healthcare capacity, and for that matter, now invite on Pascal to give the synopsis of the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, this is a report of the committee. I'm standing on behalf of the chairman, and this bill is an establishment bill for an act to establish the Nigerian Healthcare Infrastructure Development Bank, which seeks to enhance and promote the health and well-being of Nigerians at all walks of life, and to boost healthcare at the local level, and at the same time, so that to be able to ensure that the health infrastructure in the country has a bank where it can be able to enhance and to be able to source out our funds, and at the same time ensure that the locals be able to access healthcare when it's needed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker and honorable colleagues.
Clause 2. Clause 2. Observation? You say?
Most of the votes, sir.
Powers?
Eh,
Clause what?
Number 8. Clause 8. The board shall have power to. Not the board. The board shall have power to.
The spelling error.
Yes.
Instead of board, they write.
Instead of the board, they say the board.
Abstain.
25.
So, please help us clean all typographical errors. You have a different version? No, it's power of the board. I said their board shall have powers to. Instead of the board shall have powers to. Thank you. Where are we? 10? 11? 14? 19? 20? 1, 2, 3. Explanatory note. Fellow colleagues, the fifth bill to be considered is for an act to amend the National Agency for Food and Drugs Administration and Control Act (CAP) N1 Law Supervision of Nigeria 2004 to provide for the payment of all monies received by the agency into the Federation account in accordance with Section 162 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1990 as amended, and for legal matters. I now invite Honorable Tanko Sonunu to give the synopsis of the bill. Doctor.
That were absent in the current act as we have. We all know that currently the drinking water can be in two forms, either a bottle or sachet. The current act completely did not make any provision on the sachet water, and therefore for us to improve safety, there is need to include it. The world over clinical trials as far as issue of drug administration is becoming an in thing, and it provides a global market that can improve economy. The current act as provided did not make much input on the issue of clinical trial. We also, as we're all aware, that currently the pandemic has taught us a lesson, and there is no provision in the current act to provide for emergency use of drugs during pandemic. And this has raised a lot of concern in terms of this, and therefore the amendment seeks to address those challenges, among others. Thank you.
Clause 1. I think you need to work on similar, in the same way you deal with the other one, if you are going to do. Please. Thank you. What our legal draftmen doing in actual sense? They are not helping us. They are not helping us. 5. Six, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 20, 'Sorry, sir. Can we get to 24? Yes, sir. Section 24 of this Principal Act is amended in Section 2415A. Why the need provision thus? They need provision. It's too far now. It's too far for referral. It should have been closer than, please. 25, 26. It's not a fault, it's the fault of the legal draftsman. So, '27. '28. That's 2. Citation. Long title. Long title. Leader, move that we resort back to committee of the whole, to plan to report progress.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, my distinguished colleagues. I'm Comrade Peter of Nigeria Partisan. I move that the committee revert to plenary to report progress. I so move.
Acting Chief Whip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. Mr. Chairman, honorable colleagues, I rise to second the motion ably moved by the leader of the House for the chair to report progress.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. That's have it. House is hereby to resolve to plan to report progress.
Honorable Mbora, seek permission from Acting Chief Whip before saying the presiding officer, please.
The House in the Committee of the Whole considered the report on a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of Federal Capital Territory Transport Authority and for related matters deferred for further legislative consideration. Fellow colleagues, the House in the Committee of the Whole considered the report on a bill for an act to repeal the Nigerian Council for Management Development Act, CAP N99, Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004, and the National Center for Economic Management and Administration Act N14, Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact the Nigerian Council for Management Development Bill and for related matters, approve clauses 1 to 25, the schedule, the explanatory memoranda, and the long title of the report. Colleagues, the House in the Committee of the Whole considered the report on the bill for an act to amend the Agricultural Research Council of the Nigerian Act, Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004, and for related matters, and approve clauses 1 to 17, the schedules, the explanatory memoranda, and the long title of the report accordingly. I think you need to find out what is missing in this one. Something is missing, the cap. We are unable to. Colleagues, in the Committee of the Whole, the House considered the report of the Committee on Health Institutions on a bill for an act to establish the Nigerian Health Infrastructure Development Bank to enhance and promote the health and well-being of Nigerians of all walks of life, to boost local care capacity for related matters, and approve clauses 1 to 23, the schedules, the explanatory memoranda, and the long title of the report. Colleagues, in the House and the Committee of the Whole considered the report on the Committee of Healthcare Services on a bill for an act to amend the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control Act, CAP N1, Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004, and to provide for the payment of monies received by the agencies into the Federation account in accordance with Section 162 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, and for related matters, and approve clauses 1 to 23, and it schedules the explanatory memoranda and the long title of the report. Leader, move for the adoption of the report.
I remain Comrade Peter representing Akoko Federal Constituency. I move that the reports from the Committee of the House should be adopted as soon.
Acting Chairman, Rules and Business.
Adopted. Thank you.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it. Colleagues, recall the resolution of the House for Security Summit is going to commence by the grace of God, will commence by Monday. So we'll be adjourning plenary to allow us attend to that very all important assignment. Throughout next week, we shall not be having plenary. We are still supposed to have to go on again on a constitutional review, zonal public hearing. In principle, we will have thought of, but those who are not sorted away as in leadership, but adjourning plenary for the first 1 week. Thereafter, if the need for us to announce or to communicate for the adjournment of the remaining of the other part of the week, we'll do that. But for now, we're adjourning for 1 week, plenary, to allow us carry out that important assignment. Thank you. This is for our various information and compliance. But other committee work will still continue. It's just the plenary that would be adjourned. Date for what? It's a full week. You are part of the House. The resolution for us to have was for us to undertake that assignment for 1 good week. So, leader, you are adjourning, calling for moving for the adjournment of the House. Yes, sir. Sorry, before your adjournment. I believe communication will be given. Thank you. You are talking about security, so you can't disclose as this. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Comrade Peter Hyozuja Patterson, representing Akuko Federal Constituency. I move that this House do adjourn to 11 o'clock, 1st of June 2021. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Seconded, Onoja.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. Amejaha Babawa is my name. I rise to second the motion moved by Honorable Patterson, MNI, Deputy Leader of the House, for the House to be adjourned to 1st June 2021. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it. To 1st of June, 11 a.m.